Today, we're going to start out with opening remarks by your executive sponsor, Michele Robinson. Michele has been helping to produce this conference for the last 5 years, and the conference itself is about 15 years old. In addition to that, today she's going to be partnering with Robert Morgester. Thank you, Beck. Robert Morgester, who's taking Joan McNabb's place. He's going to be talking about e-crime and prevention and things like that. So without any further ado, please welcome to the stage Michele Robinson.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of our 15th annual Cyber Security Symposium. So the theme of our event this year is Advancing Security and Privacy Through Awareness and Action. As many of you know, this month is recognized as National Preparedness Month, and yesterday morning, our partners Deloitte facilitated a wargaming tabletop exercise with approximately 30 executives. There was a lot of discussion and recognition about the importance of having solid business continuity and incident response plans. So in keeping with our leadership theme of the conference, this morning I'd like to share with you some thoughts on leadership in the headlines. So as security professionals, we're trained or conditioned to not go with FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. We're not supposed to promote FUD in our work. But today, we're hearing and being told it's not if, but when. How many of you heard that lately? How many hear it several times a day? Lots of you. Yeah, lots of us. So today, we see then it is, right? It becomes our reality. Got the podium too far to the right. So let's take a look at some of these. This website is informationisbeautiful.net, and so you can filter down on some of the world's largest breaches. It provides some statistical data about what type of breach it was, some interesting facts around it. But there's a lot. This thing actually goes down quite a bit if you scroll down to it. We can't get to it today because there's no internet connection. But very interesting statistics. We're reading about these every day, sometimes more than one a day. So it is our reality. And it probably is true that it's not if, but when. So, my question for leadership here today is when your above the fold moment comes, what will you be left with of these 3 things? So once uncertainty is removed, which you think it is, and doubt erased, what are we left with? And how will we be graded? What will the grade be? Will it be an F? Or will it be an A because we've taken action? So again, our conference this year is about bringing awareness to action. So I have this morning some action tips for many of us. For all of you. Tips for leadership I'd like to share this morning is to make sure we're investing in security subject matter expertise. We know there's a workforce development and skill set challenge in the area of cybersecurity, and we as businesses and organizations in government need to invest in developing this skill set. We need to be giving those individuals a seat at the table. We need to let them be the voice of security. And we need to not shoot them when they bring that message to us. So I have some action tips for private industry partners as well. Uh-oh, I think I just lost my presentation. Not good. Okay, let's see if we can get back on track. Apologize. What's going on here? Technical difficulties? There it goes. All right. So, apologize for the technical difficulties. So I had some tips for private industry as well. We need partnership in understanding that we as a government are highly regulated in this area. So we need partners in transparency and due diligence. So as an extension of our partnership, we need to really make sure that we can demonstrate as a government that we're holding our partners to the same level of standards that we're required to adhere to. So that's really important. We also need private industry to help us continue to find solutions and innovative ways to integrate security and privacy in the design of new products and solutions. So I commend those that are already on their path of doing this, those that have been very transparent in how they are handling security at their organizations and really helping us to demonstrate due diligence the way we need to for citizenry here in California. I have some tips too for information security professionals. So you need to be the voice for security. And when doing that, you need to be sure that when we're presenting the problem, which that's the easy part to do, that we're also presenting solutions. We should not be taking problems to the business about security without proposed solutions. And then we need to articulate that in terms that business can understand. So critically important. Tips for all of us, I'll end with this, tips for all of us. Be good digital citizens, right? We all need to take responsibility and understand that cyberspace is a critical asset to all of us and our economy. And so we all share in the responsibility of protecting that critical asset. So please practice good, responsible online citizenry and educate yourselves and others about cybersecurity issues and concerns and what can be done to mitigate against those types of things. So thank you all. I'm going to now turn this over to Robert Morgester with the Office of the Attorney General. And Robert is Senior Assistant Attorney General in the E-Crimes Unit, and he is filling in for Joan this morning, but he has an interesting area that he's working with in cybersecurity in the E-Crimes Unit, and he's going to talk to us about that this morning. So, Robert, welcome.
Thank you, Michelle. Good morning. I'd like to start off by saying I'm with the government and I'm here to help. That should scare you. It scares me. But really, when I look upon this audience, what I see is clients, current clients, future clients. What is a client to me? A client's a victim. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Cybersecurity issues are the same place that identity theft issues were the beginning of this current century. It's just a question of when you're going to be hit. And then it becomes a question is, what do we have in place to assist, either through investigation, prosecution, remediation, whatever it happens to be. And unfortunately, the government is behind. There is good news in this particular area. The first good news that I'll give you is that General Harris 8 months after she was sworn in as the California Attorney General, created the e-crime unit. And she created the e-crime unit in response to a lack of resources, a lack of response. And her purpose was, and her vision was to create a program that could be responsive to California's burgeoning, actually even existing, cybersecurity needs. So the purpose of the unit is pretty straightforward. We address multi-jurisdictional actors that either use technology to facilitate a crime or they commit a crime which targets technology, which in my parlance, E, that's everything. We do everything. Anything E, which makes my job, frankly, a lot of fun. I have one of the coolest jobs out there. The e-crime unit itself, we partner with local, state, and federal agencies, and our prosecutors can file cases in any county in California. One of the great mysteries, of course, is what does the Attorney General's office do? More importantly, what jurisdiction do we have? We are like your local DA, except that where your local DA is limited to a single county, I can go to any county. And oftentimes, I'll have discussions in cybercrimes where the defense attorney says, you're in the wrong county. And my response is, which county would you like me to be in? I can go anywhere. I can file this case anywhere. In fact, my suggestion to you is, why don't you talk to your client and see if we can resolve everything in this county? Because otherwise, we will follow your client from county to county to county to county to county until this case is done. You know, I don't retire for another 15 years. I got the time. You know, nowhere is too far in a state car. Because of that, I'd say that close to 95% of our cases will resolve because we have the ability to package everything, one location, one place. So really your question should be to me, Robert, what has the e-crime unit done, right? You've been around now for close to 4 years, moving on 5. What have you done, right? The proof's in the pudding. Well, during that time period, we have filed 131 cases. We have convicted 209 defendants. The courts have ordered restitution in our cases exceeding $37.8 million. We have conducted the nation's first criminal prosecution of an operator of a cyber exploitation website. Media, of course, reports this as revenge porn. We don't like that word. It's cyber exploitation. There's no revenge involved here. Most of the young women, the most young men that are subject to this particular attack, it's not their loved ones or former spouses that is doing this. Their photos are stolen. They're stolen and republished. In a particular case that we did down in San Diego, Mr. Bollard, he had a website, and his site log files showed that 10,000 unique victim profiles were created to allow the displays of the victim's intimate images. And when these profiles were created, Mr. Bollard did not ask. He actually demanded that the uploader put in the victim's Facebook page, the Twitter account, other mechanisms to contact these victims. But he didn't stop there. He allowed for a forum in conjunction with the images where the internet trolls, and that's what they are, could comment on the photos. And the individuals would comment on the photos and would go back and forth, a race to see who could contact the victims first to let them know their photos were exposed, or who could contact the victim's parents, loved ones, employers. So this was a mess. And what was interesting with reference to this particular mess and this particular site is that as we were looking at it, the pundits nationally were saying, there is nothing that can be done.
Right.
This is just the new now, so to speak. We're going to have to accept it because no laws have been broken. We have the Communication Decency Act, which protects website operators. And of course, it's a website. What can be done? Well, that's the beauty about the e-crime unit. And more importantly, that's the beauty about working for Kamala Harris, is that we are empowered to make change. We're empowered to look at these cases and say, no, this isn't right. We can do something about this. So in this particular case, we looked at the facts, we figured out what we could do, and we did act. Mr. Bullard was identified, he was arrested, he was prosecuted, and he was found guilty of 6 counts of extortion, 21 counts of identity theft, and he was sentenced to 18 years split sentence down in San Diego County. That was our first. We followed up immediately thereafter by arresting Mr. Meyering. Mr. Meyering ran a slightly different site, apples and oranges, same type of venue, cyber exploitation. And this particular site, though, is you paid to have access to it, or if you submitted new photos. The site was a hacker site. It was actually designed and encouraged individuals to go out and to break into young women's phone accounts. And the purpose is to steal their intimate images to share them. And so they had contests by state. They called them wins when you were able to break into an account and get an intimate photo that you could share with others. Some of the challenges that we run into, and the nice thing is that these experiences and these challenges that we overcome are the same challenges that we're going to have in your future cases. For example, we have to seize a website. Once you seize a website, you have to reconstruct that website. When you reconstruct the website, how are you going to host it? I mean, let's talk about, I have stolen images, naked images, right, of young women. Where the heck am I going to host that? And I have to share that with the defense. How am I going to manage that? But more importantly, when you start looking at these websites, using the Meyering case as an example, it was a series of message boards, and there's also an internal messaging system. Looking at that messaging system, 18,000 messages we had to look at. How do you data mine that website to look at that particular message group? One of the learning curves, or learning experiences we went through is first, we were able to host it on a private network, and we were talking about crowdsourcing our search, just because we did not have the tools or technology. I mean, come on, I got law enforcement officers, all right? They're not tech people. But what we quickly learned is that we could leverage you. We could leverage your expertise. And that's what we started doing. One of the unique changes in this case is that by reaching out to subject matter experts, folks that knew far more than we did, we were able to figure out how to data mine this particular website, take the messages, put them in literally an Excel spreadsheet that were grouped, not only by posting times, but also by posting subject. But more importantly, one of the things that we learned that was extremely helpful in the case is that every time a message was posted, the website had a counter. So message 1 was 1, message 100 was 100. And we could see where there was no messages. So we could see where they were cleaning up the website. All these things we were able to accomplish because we stopped being an insular law enforcement organization and we started outreaching to people like you. What else have we done? In these cases, we have run across other cases, developed cases, and we prosecuted a sophisticated hacker who targeted hundreds of personal email accounts and defeated two-factor authentication. Again, targeting intimate images. There seems to be a thread going on here. The way he was able to beat two-factor authentication was simple social engineering. We've seen it since the beginning of time with reference to the cases that I've prosecuted. And in this particular case, it was just a series of hacks within a hack within a hack. So in this particular example, what he would do is that he would find one of your friend's Facebook pages that was accessible. So he would hack a Facebook page. Once he had the Facebook page, he would reach out to that particular target's friends. And what he would do is that looking at that target friend, he'd say, oh, look it, she has a Gmail account. So he'd go to her Gmail account, he would log on, and of course, what does Gmail say? Two-factor authentication. We're going to text you that code that you need to get in. So how does he get the code? Social engineering. He will text them off of the Facebook account. Now your friend thinks it's you that's talking to him and basically does this, what I call the 8 in the morning ploy. Hey, late last night, I left my phone, I got a problem. I need to reset my account. I'm going to text you the reset code. Can you give that to me, please? Now you're all sitting there going, I would never do that. 200 accounts were compromised through that simple social engineering trick. Which gets back to a reminder not only to us, but to our loved ones and to people that we work with, is you have to protect your personal information. You cannot trust anyone. Because, what do they say? On the internet, anyone can be a dog? What else have we done? We prosecuted the chief probation officer for San Mateo County for ordering and possessing child pornography. We prosecuted the nation's first international cell fraud ring, trafficking in stolen iPhones nationally for international sale. That case was pretty interesting. All of a sudden, we started running across people that would have literally boxes of iPhones in their car, and you're going, what's going on here? And these boxes of iPhones were being shipped to China. And what it turned out being is that there were organized rings, we call them credit mules, and they would target Verizon, AT&T, and other companies that were selling cell phones. And most of these companies during this time period would have a plan, a family plan. And so your cell phone was being actually sold to you under value, and the money would be recouped in the plan. You with me so far? So what they would do is they'd bring in, literally, the bum off the street, pay him 20 bucks. He would go in and sign up for the family plan and get the 5 phones. So they pick up the 5 phones for a song. The bum basically signs up for the credit that he is never going to fulfill. They take these phones, and these phones are sold back to the place that they're manufactured. To understand the nature of this particular crime, one of these resellers of the phones, the repackager to China, was making $3 million a year. We recently did an indictment, 29 gang members, the Baby Insane Crip Gang out of Long Beach, California. The Baby Insane Crip Gang filed over, actually I should say filed, they filed much more than $3.2 million. They actually received $3.2 million in false tax returns from the federal government by using stolen Social Security numbers. So we now have criminal street gangs that are into white-collar fraud. I should note that some of our defendants in that particular case we could not prosecute because they're dead. They're dead in street gang violence. So this is a violent criminal street gang that is involved in white-collar fraud. We also are currently prosecuting a takeover robbery of Unigen. $37 million in flash memory was stolen from them back in 2011. You had an armed crew, just like in the movies, right? Shotguns, masks, took over the facility, duct tape, locked folks up, took the chips, tried to resell them. The chips were all recovered, and we are in the process now that all but one of them will be sentenced by December. We recently prosecuted a router warranty replacement scheme that tricked a company into providing $4.2 million in replacement parts that were not paid for. And then, of course, unfortunately, at this point, these types of crimes are ubiquitous. We prosecute multi-state identity theft rings that target gas station ATMs that steal your PIN number to drain your bank accounts. You know, it's a sad commentary where, you know, cases that we thought were new and innovative years ago now are a daily occurrence. So that's what the e-crime unit has done. Now the question is, what are we going to do? Well, the first thing that I would do for you as a group is to encourage you to think about what really pisses you off. I mean, start thinking about the internet. What's that one thing that if you could change, you want it changed? And then ask yourself, can we or do we have jurisdiction in California? Because a lot of our great cases come from people like you. They can point out to us, this is a problem, somebody really should do something about it. And we'd be happy to look at those problems. But besides that, we have something else on our plate. As you are probably aware, the governor recently issued an executive order dealing with cybersecurity. And we'll be working with OES, CHP, and other partners, both new and old, to develop and field a computer incident response team. And again, for you folks out there, especially for you folks that work in your IT sections, I know you're looking at us going, really, Robert? How is law enforcement going to really respond to my problems? See, the key here is I don't have to know what you know. I don't have to even do your job. I just have to know the questions to ask. And I can rely upon you to help us investigate your crimes. For most of your crimes, really all we're talking about is log files, right? Somebody came in somewhere. And the one thing that we have, that law enforcement has, that you folks have not been taking advantage of, is that we can go out and try to figure out where the bad actor came from. We have the ability to look behind what I call the ISPs. You know, with a search warrant, I can track this stuff down wherever it happens to go. The question that I will have is, is it reachable? Can I find an individual and bring them back to California? I'd say that 2 out of every 3 cases that we investigate is going to be an actor in Eastern Europe or someplace else like Vietnam that we cannot reach. But 1 out of 3 we can. And then what we also need to do is to start developing technical solutions. I started off as an old school prosecutor, right? I did things like robberies. And when you stole stuff from a bank, certain things happened. One is you walked into a bank, right? Just like walking into your system. And when you walked into that bank, certain things were captured. Who are you? Who is this individual? Photos were taken. So we always ask of you, what are you capturing with reference to the traffic coming into your shop? From there, if I stole something from a bank, usually they give me a tracking device, a dye pack, a pack that explodes with dye to mark you somehow. And again, the purpose was, if you got out with the money, right, we could identify who that person was. So one of the challenges that we have going forward is not only how do we track what's going on with our network, but more importantly, if something is taken, is there some way it can call home? Because one of the challenges that we have is that it may look like it's somebody in the Eastern European section that's taking your particular data, but they may not be. They may be right next door. And so it's just identifying those individuals that have the data. And then, of course, from my perspective, I got 2 things. Give me the computer, and I need to prove what I call fingers on the keyboard. In my case, it's pretty straightforward. So our goal is to track, identify, and prosecute those responsible. And our goal is to work with you in doing that. The other part of the CERT team goal is to allow better information sharing to ensure that all of our systems are protected. It does you no good if my investigation over here discovers what I call a significant security flaw. And candidly, all my investigations uncover significant security flaws. That's why there's a crime. Somebody identified a problem and has been taking advantage of it. And the question becomes is, how can we share that information across the board to ensure that the open door that we find over here becomes closed over there? So I do imagine that as we go forward working with OES and our other partners, that in the coming months we'll be reaching out to subject matter experts such as yourselves to assist in this endeavor. And we truly would welcome your help, because I'll be the first one to say, we cannot do this without you. We cannot do this without your expertise. And then finally, going back to the theme of this particular conference, and I've risked repeating it again and again, because we all know it's no longer a question of if I'm going to become a victim of cybercrime. Unfortunately, it's a question of when. And I encourage you all to take steps to, what I call it McDonald's. Don't be the folks that are easily victimized, be the folks that are harder to victimize, but unfortunately, no matter what layer you are, you do run the very real risk of being a victim. And our goal is that if and when that happens, that we'll be in a position to offer real assistance and be able to offer to identify the players, and more importantly, take those players down so that they cease being a risk to everybody else. I really appreciate the time that I had to address you today. Thank you.